Yo, what's up, guys? We have the balance patch notice in, and actually, it seems to be bigger than what we have normally have. So far, good thoughts about it. I kind of skimmed through it, but let's go into every unit and then also check out in-game or check out a few other things with all of those units, and let's see how good it actually is. So first of all, we got the Art Master Joe Gun going from a 15 boost to a 10 boost. They have done this before to the Twin Angels, and that actually removed the Twin Angels from being meta, because that boost is where it becomes a lot harder to actually pair anything. And let me showcase you an example. So let's say you have a Joe Gun into a Sierra, which was like the common thing out there. Before, if you had a 15 boost, you could pair like, let's say, a 310 on this, and you could boost it all the way to like a 280-ish. But that's also like keeping in mind if you add more units to the table, let's say that you go for a full combo of this, then you already look at like, okay, a 320 is paired on a 290. If we make that a 10 boost rather than a 15 boost, we are looking at a 302. So we're only boosting for about 18 speed if we want to boost the whole team to that. If we just go for a 1 unit boost, it's a 192 right now, where it used to be like a 278. So your Joe Guns might still be decent if you use like a 300 speed Joe Gun, and then it's doable to get like the whole team boosted and stuff. So I definitely do think he's usable in that kind of shape or sense. But anything more than, let's say, a 310 Joe Gun is not really something that you would actually want to use, because boosting everything up more than like a faster set on a Joe Gun just doesn't really make sense. But the Joe Gun at 310 speed is still really good. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. I think it's still usable. Only thing is, he got a lot of a bigger issue against Hey Gangs right now, because normally you boost a lot more than a Hey Gang, for example. Now that part is definitely reduced by a good bit. Next nerf, we have Oliver. And Oliver normally set the attack bar to 0 and then increase your attack bar based on how much you absorb. In this case, Oliver is going to decrease for 90% and then increase your attack bar in proportion to the reduced bar. That is actually way stronger than some people might look at it at the first glance. Why is that? A, you don't get the attack bar for going S3, S2. Plus, let's say that you have your stripper move. The enemy is sitting at like 105 or 110 attack bar. That means that you're only going to be reducing that to 90% down. You only gain 90%, whereas if you were to hit the highest attack bar owner on the enemy side, you would have normally gotten a lap on the second highest attack bar owner on the enemy side. Which means, like, let's say you AoE strip, you reset the Giana, then you get all of the bar from the Giana, and you reset the Sierra as well. Now you just have to choose, I reset one, or I need to proc to actually get this. That makes Oliver a lot weaker and a lot less chance of cycling back and forth all the time. So that is a really strong nerf. So I'm curious to see how much Oliver win rate is going to drop over that. I think Joe Gun is still maybe usable. Oliver will definitely be used, but it will be used a bit less. Light Hwoarang, passive going down by 50%. Totally makes sense. That's exactly what I actually did call for as well. Totally not surprised about that one whatsoever. Giana nerf, I actually did mention that in the balance patch prediction video as well. I expect them to just lower the rate, and the thing is, it's not going to change that much, but it's just going to add more stupid RNG to it. Because if your enemy is very lucky, he's still going to land all of the 75% chances. If you are very unlucky, you're going to miss all of the 25% chances. It's just adding more RNG to the table, which I think is, like, not necessarily, to be honest, remove this whole stun part by all means. But the thing is, it just adds more RNG. I'm never a fan of, like, a RNG nerf in the first place. So it's just an RNG up to a nerf kind of thing. Like, I'm not a big fan of this. And it's not like, ooh, he's, like, hating on the nerf because it's its own unit. No, I'm hating on the nerf because it's just more RNG. We have Zeratu being nerfed, which Zeratu in current state is pretty strong, but it didn't feel as oppressive as a few balance patches ago, I would say, or a few metas ago. But the change is also not that big. So it recovers 10% at the end of your turn. It recovers at the 10% on your after your attack on your turn. So that would mean, I guess the only change is that you don't heal during your S2. Is that correct? I think that is pretty much the only thing that changes it. Does he die to dots? Well, recovers at the end of your turn. I thought that Zeratu always recovered while taking a turn, not at the end of his turn. Because he did not die to dots before. Stunts, yeah, true. Oh, yeah, definitely stunts. Stunts would definitely be a big different value as well. I always thought that Zeratu survived dots, but I could be wrong in that. Recovers when your turn ends. I always thought he had it at the start of the turn. I don't know. So yeah, if he's stunned mainly. So small change. Small change. I don't think it definitely nerfs it to the ground. Definitely still usable, but small change right there. Then we have the Dokkaebi Lord Water, which is going to get an insane amount of healing. Was actually already nerfed before. Might he make a little bit of a comeback based on this? He doesn't get that much absorb anymore for the attack by healing, but a 30% heal, that is a really big freaking heal. That is a massive freaking heal. So you can potentially use him as a sustainer / healer or anything like that. So it could maybe be a thing. We got the M Bison going for water. The damage increase proportion to the destroyed HP has been increased. Yeah, doesn't really feel like that much. Unit wasn't used that much. We also have Gurkha. Decreased damage taken by provoked units is upped. It's okay. It doesn't change that much, but that's okay. That's okay. We have the Nobara Water. Was Nobara Water? Oh, Nobara Water is actually a 5-star, right? Yeah, it is. We have the next... Wait, this one attacks the enemy 3 times, damage not changed. Wait, is that this skill? Yeah, that is... Is it? Let me double check. Yeah, that is the 3rd skill, so... The damage isn't changed, but the amount of harmful effects you land is way stronger. That actually makes her low-key on kind of value of Rika as being a water, which I think is pretty decent. I think that makes her siege viable mainly. RTA maybe not really, but I definitely could see her being siege viable if she goes for 4-hit, because also additional damage stacks more. You have more dots sitting in, that kind of good stuff. I think that is a decent change for her. The light one is available to use on your next turn when you're being attacked. Available to use when you are attacked. Wait. Available for use until the skill is used when you are attacked. Okay, so I guess you can use it right away. To be honest, I was talking about this one earlier, and I don't really feel the value of you doing 40% of the target's max HP. You should be doing damage from your own max HP. But you kind of steal the identity of a Molong with that case. But I don't really like the enemy max HP kind of thing. I think she's still ass Loki. Then we have this. Ooh, Perna gets an attack buff the moment he is revived. He kind of gets the Omar's vibes on that. Definitely a siege change right there. It's not a bad one. Perna could definitely become a little bit more of siege meta again because of that attack buff. If you attack buffs and then procs few times on that, that's definitely nasty. Then again, Perna's highest scaling is actually enemy max HP, and just whatever comes from this. So it's not super hard on an attack scaler for Perna, but it still helps out to get some damage in. We do also have the Kumar going for Oblivion to 75 chance. Does that make Kumar 100% Oblivion? No, it makes him, it sticks at 75. There's no up in the effect in the skillers, but 75 chance for Oblivion, 2 turns on the skill 1, it's not bad. Meditate, so he gets a double buff. Decreases the cooldown of Meditate if there's no harmful effects removed. Okay, so he cleanses himself and he cleanses the ally, right? So in that case, remove harmful effect on yourself and the target selected. So that would also mean that Meditate goes down to a 2-turn cooldown. That is actually insanely low. You can literally, that's Meditate all the freaking time. And Meditate has a good bit of healing in there. So that's not that bad. Spectre Princess. We have these... Oh yeah, they finally do damage by your max HP, which totally makes sense on the full HP damage scaler. That's this skill, I guess. She could do pretty decent damage then, because then all 3 of her skills are dealing damage of her own max HP, which might actually be pretty substantial. Kind of depends like how much the multipliers on that, but that sounds pretty strong. Fire Beetle Guardian grants recovery on ally for 2 turns if it takes fatal damage. Yeah, no, that's still ass. That's like the weird ass Triana kind of vibe ass looking thing. I don't really think that adds that much. Like, sure, you get Endure, now you also get recovery, so you heal a bit. Sure, whatever. We also have the Wind Beetle Guardian. I don't even remember what this one did at all. Attack power increase for all allies, blah, blah, blah. Sure. We give that defend all allies, excluding yourself, for 2 turns. Okay, that makes it a good bit better. But so that's an A. Wait, this then becomes AoE Hog, pretty much. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. We also have the Light. Light one was pretty ass as well. On paper, he looks pretty decent. Let's see what they change for it. Decreases the for 2 turns whenever you attack or counter attack. So also, normally he only had the Death Break or only the strip or only something like that. Yeah, now he has that all the time, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that he can always do that rather than just during counterattacks. It's okay. It's okay. Not sure if that's that crazy, but sure. We have the Dark One Absorbing. Ooh, that's the skill 3 that has Death Break, Branding, and now also increased Recruiter, and now also Absorbing. And it's a double hit. You steal 15, whole team. If you hit that on 4 units, you can get 120 bar by max. It's not bad. It's not bad. But then you cycle into an S2 that really doesn't add too much value for you. I don't. Doesn't Death Break? Oh, is it just branding? I thought. Oh no, it's proportional to your defense. Sorry, it's. If he had Death Break on that, it would be strong. Yeah. I don't really see the vibes. No, don't really see the vibes. Don't really feel like it's that strong. Ivor on Fire and Light. Okay. We have increased the damage on the inability effects. Laser branding on the first hit. That is, I guess, their S2 from the Ivors. Where is this Ivor looking thing at? Ivor, is that this skill? The X? Yep, so that is the one that normally absorbs and now also gives a brand. It's not gonna bring her back into meta for neither of them. Triton is actually pushing back for 50% right now. That's a huge pushback. It is still a thing where I would say it's probably only good in arena defense. But then again, if Triton gets his skill off, I think it's more of a stronger Hagen counter-ish, I guess. Maybe more of a counter against the Lamilla team, because that's the main thing. A lot of the arena defenses just died to the Lamilla Tricks team. If you push them back a bit more, it would have been something. We saw Triton in Siege Tourney. We saw Tritons in Siege Tourney, but all of those defense were actually low-key fucking ass. Like, legit, you saw that maybe in my Siege Tourney, I 2v3'd a fucking Triton defense. Because the Triton actually despair stunned one of my units. So, yeah, with this buff, he might have actually won that with the more pushback. I'm not sure. It's a something, but Triton buff is a little bit awkward, but it feels kind of on level with like where we had like a Feng Yang buff or a Trix buff where the unit was already good and now it's better than what it did before, but it's still niche and just whatever its own kind of thing. We have the Ventriloquism going for removes that for the highest bar. Wait, removes. So this part is changed 50% on the start of your turn. Okay, so is that just that's just a slightly higher strip chance. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. We got the Archangel, and he used to counter when you get credits. Now he will counter with a critical hit. Okay, that's going to be fairly interesting because now you have to make the choice on your Artemil. I don't think it makes him good enough though. But it will make the Artemil to a certain choice where do you want to go for a skill 1 that can crit or do you want to just crit in your counters? I think for Siege offense, this becomes really good because you can add an insane amount of damage on it. Otherwise, not sure. That's mainly the thing. We will get to the speedily changes in a bit, which are definitely crazy as well. So we have the Art Master. Hanwoo gets 10% damage increase. Woohoo! Yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't like this change that much. I feel for Hanwoo, I've mentioned it before. Hanwoo should have his Awakening removed from the crit rate, awaken into the S2, and completely change the S2. Because this S2 has absolute zero value for the S3 and the whole main kit of this Hanwoo. So it's not about just adding more damage to the S3. It's about changing this S2 to give him a self-crit rate buff, a self-attack buff, a passive on the S2. I don't give a shit. Remove that freaking S2. It's so ass, mediocre, non-existing. We also have a bit more damage on the Benedict. I guess. I haven't seen people use Benedicts in ages, so I'm curious to see if that works. The light Nina Williams now does a 10% damage increase to a 25. I think that's decent because this is AoE. I'm pretty sure that that part is AoE. That is a good substantial damage increase, and that's the hit that does land a lot of debuffs, right? So yeah, you have Seal, then we have Block, Harmful, blah, 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 and then also... Yeah. Yeah, okay. I can maybe see the damage improvement a little bit, but she's not really a damage dealer per se, so I'm not too sure about it if that's anything that crazy. Dark Nina Williams now goes for increased damage dealt to all the marked targets. This should work on bosses. Like, I have no clue why this shit does not work on bosses. Like, sure, cool, know that something has more damage, but she should do more damage on bosses. That's just a simple thing. Ooh, Maya with a buff. Recovers 5% of your HP when nullifying damage from an attack. Wait, but that's every turn, right? That happens all the time. That is actually really strong. That makes Maya hard to kill. So every multi-hit possible, so... Yeah, this passive works all the time. So if you're fighting a heavy multi-hitting team, like let's say you're fighting a Iris plus a Sylvia plus something else, Maya's like, yo, good luck, I'm never dying. Like, I'm 100% never dying. That's actually low-key. I can, yeah, I can see Maya being good for siege offense. Siege defense, maybe not that much because you can just still snipe it out, but siege offense, definitely. We also have mages, okay. Or the dice mutation mages thingies. Numbers have been changed. Harmful effects, okay. Okay, that's just slightly lowering on that. Sure, whatever. Rolls dices on the skill 3. That is, we always expected, or at least always, we did expect at the start where the dice mutations were added into the game that the water dice mutation was going to be taking over the job of a Lucian. Because this has ignored defense, but then again, it's so much chance to get this ignored defense that it's not that great, even if you get the one extra roll on that. I don't really see the change in that. We also have the Winston Tower deals more damage to bosses. Highly depends like how much more this is. I could see this still working in Elunia. I don't have that high hopes for this one in Giants. This one in Giants is... I would be surprised. We also have the Chun-Li Blade Dancers and Blade of the Night. I think that is the third skill, but I'm not 100% sure. Blade of the Night is actually skill 2. Okay. Oh, that's the one that ignored defense. If you add more damage to the ignored defense version, it could maybe be a thing. We also have a change on the Wind one. That is the passive, because this one used to give... Okay. Increase your attack power for 1 turn, blocks the enemy from receiving beneficial effects for 2 turns whenever you're being attacked. Not too sure about that one. I feel like some people can probably place that in some siege hits somewhere, but not that crazy. Ooh, this one is big though. Actually, this one, the Lunar Eclipse, normally you are glancing, but now you also absorb attack bar on the 3rd hit. So it's not decrease, it is absorb. And this is something, SF. Ooh, you could be right in that. Blocks from receiving beneficial effects whenever you're attacked. Yeah, you're actually true, Cloud. You're very true. You could actually place this towards SF. Does she make any sense on the other skills for SF? Not as much. Like, this attack bar to 0. Sure, you could ignore defense, but this is maybe an upgraded version of the Fire Lizard Man kind of style, because the Fire Lizard Man also has this part in the passive. It could be a thing. But yeah... we might see a little bit more of Arisa in Siege as well, because it's not that bad of a strip if you also absorb. It's not the craziest of things, but just that. Just Agarius SF, true. Just, you know how you actually do SF? This is how you do SF. You just scout battle SF. That's the only way you actually do SF. Fuck SF, it's still a shit dungeon, because it's just that much slower than everything else. Then we also have a change to Dark Hwarang activates 20% of... that's the one... Oh, whoops, wrong one. That is the Hwarang that just does a shit ton of multi-hits, but... Yeah. Not a big fan. Not a big fan. I think it does too little. Then we have some changes over here. Martial Cat Dark fixes when that, sure. Decline, okay, sure. There's also a bunch of changes on these. I'm not too sure if these skills over here, we would have to look at. So you have the maximum attack bar gain of 100, which does also mean, is this a crazy hard nerf to a Jackson? Because Jackson was actually overstacking attack bar and therefore did not work. There's one big question though. Is the fucking Draken Warrior in here? No, Draken Warrior is not in here. Because if the Draken Warrior passive would have been in here, it would have been really fucking bad as well. Because then the whole team that we were using in the Temple of Chaos wasn't working. But from the looks of it, so these are all to 100. These are all from... Wait, the attack bar increase will be changed by 100 or more. So these are limited to 100 and these are more than 100. Okay. I guess that's fine and fair. I guess that most of these barely got to 100 anyways. But then we have some actual really big changes coming in. Leader skill changes. Look, bottom there is Draken Warrior, no. Was it? Was the fire one Draken Warrior? No, I don't see Draken Warrior over here. Maybe it's on a different element. Wind Series. Yeah, so Wind Series, it might be that Wind Series is actually fixed by this because this could be increased by 100% or more. So that's definitely something. But yeah, let's talk about the leader skill changes, which is actually the big part of this balance patch. First of all, we're going to have a global lead for Xingzi to be on a 24 lead on speed, which I'm not too sure which content he's going to become interesting in. I would say arena defense. He gets a little bit of value over there if he has a speed lead. If you don't have like the typical speed leads, arena defense definitely is an option. Siege defense lead, I could see an option for him being out there. Siege offense, I can see options for him being out there. But also, of course, RTA. This thing is going to become a speed lead, annoying kind of level of a Megumi. I can tell you that much. Because this thing is RNG to the Grim. RNG as fuck. And he's going to be an annoying unit such as a Fire Megumi, and we're not going to be enjoying that guy. I can tell you that much. Then we also have the Beast Monks changes. We have HP lead to Shazam, which is definitely a pretty big one. Because Shazam was already somewhat usable. Now he becomes very usable and very strong. But then again, one that's way bigger, Rahul is going to get a 33% speed lead in guild content. That is absolutely insane. Because his S3 is 100% activation, strip into beneficial effect removal, which is really big. Defense is a good skill as well. And then we have branding on the skill one that always crits. Rahul is absolutely going to be meta in Siege defense. Siege offense, maybe not, but Siege defense, you're going to see a lot of Rahuls in there, 100%. Because this feels like, if we compare it to the other 33s, we have Sylvia and we have Geldnir, and I think that those are the only two. Geldnir is okay-ish, but it's not crazy good. Whereas Rahul, with this sense, will be crazy good. Rahul will absolutely be used. Rahul will be very strong. Then we also have the Dice Magicians. Does any of them get speed lead? No, oh, okay, this is going to be toxic as fuck. This is going to be toxic as fuck. Like, these two, I don't care. Water and fire change, sure, whatever. Water change, would you kind of maybe make that as a solution? I don't think so. But the wind change, speed lead on a Monty, that is going to be, yo, no. Speed lead on a Monty. Monty is one of the most RNG pieces of shit in the fucking game. I've seen Monty not Monty, Morris. I've seen Morris pretty much solo whole teams by just getting like the good dice in there. At first, people might be like, oh, cool, more options. People are absolutely gonna hate this unit if this gets a speed lead. So this, yeah. Morris will be really good. Morris will be very meta. Then we also have speed lead changes for the Chun-Li's. And, ooh, that's actually light one, which is the Leia gets a crit rate lead. That's not bad. But even bigger, Fire Chun-Li. Fire Chun-Li is actually not a bad unit as well. Fire Chun-Li is the unit with a attack bar boost and then speed boost, crit boost. So we're looking something along the lines of a Agarius. That might be something. And also adding then a 24 speed lead on top of that. That is a pretty nasty lead change right there as well. So I could definitely see the value of this one becoming pretty darn strong as well. So that's an interesting one right there. We also have the what's it called? We have the Momo, or no, not Momo, Coco. Coco getting a speed lead. Well, is it better than the Resistance? I was actually using Momo as a, or not Momo, Coco. I was using Coco as a Leo counter. But she was a good Leo counter because she was easy to build on 100 res and get shit on her stats. But if she gets speed in the Awakening, she's no longer really a Leo counter. Maybe she gets some value elsewhere. It's still a pretty strong unit. This skill can do a shit ton of damage. So it maybe helps out a little bit over there, but that's something. But what's also very interesting is that Liam will always use the S3 if there's 3 or fewer enemies. This makes the Dragon's team 1,000 times easier to build. Because normally, to get perfect AI on your Liam, you needed the boss to be at like 30 to 35% HP. Now, if you make a very good Liam, you can make your Liam one-shot from like 60% down. That is actually a really, really big change. But might say too late because of the new team with the Centaur. Yes, but I could see this working for a lot of content. This actually makes Liam one of the best PvE units in game. Mainly because you can use this to one-shot pretty much every boss. Giants would hella die to this. I could see myself going for a Giants team with a Liam rather than me putting in the Homunculus. Like, there's definitely options out there where I would place this in a lot of different teams. Plus, it has a perfect good lead. So I will definitely be using more Liam. Liam in R5 is also insane. Ooh, that's actually really good. Yeah, Liam in R5. Like, if you just make sure that Liam moves on the second half, he always goes S3. He nearly annihilates whole S3, and you don't even need a death break. That is insane, because how much damage... I think that the boss has about 250 to 300k HP on R5. I think a Liam can one-shot that on an attack buff. That is actually fucking insane as well. Yeah, Liam changes. Actually, this is way bigger than you might think. I will definitely be having a few new teams with Liams that might be just way, way better. Only thing is, can you go Liam S3 on the mid wave and then S3 on the final wave? I think that part is not possible. But yeah, this makes things a lot more free-to-play friendly. So, okay, overall, let's recap on the balance patch. The only thing I don't like is the Giana improvement of RNG. Like, that's just like, we're gonna add more RNG to the table. That's the only buff/nerf that I feel like is stupid. Outside of that, I feel like most of the buffs, some buffs are not that impactful, some buffs are more impactful. Like, for example, the Light No Bar is probably still ass. But I think that the buffs and nerfs in general are pretty good. Thing that people might say is like, there's no Megumi nerf, there is no Josephine nerf, those kind of things. I think it's still fine if those are not really there. So we're still going to see the meta being more revolved around... what would I say for RTA meta changes? I think we're going to see less Oliver. And because of seeing less Oliver, we maybe get more Chandra back. We're definitely going to see more Megumi, but Megumi is also the main counter to Oliver, so therefore maybe we also see a little bit less Megumi is an option out there. We're definitely going to be seeing less Joe Guns at a top set, but I think we're still seeing the Joe Guns at a 310 set, maybe a 300 set, rather than a 330 set, because a 330 set Joe Gun doesn't make that much sense anymore. Kuma RTA angle, I don't think so. I would doubt that. We're definitely going to see some Xingzi, especially the turn 2 players. Turn 2 players are going to pick up Xingzi for sure. That is definitely a thing. So Xingzi is going to be a very annoying unit. That's definitely a unit that people are going to dislike. That's definitely why you created another Megumi, which people are not going to be happy with. But yeah, sure. Zeratu change, I think, is fine. Maya buff is really good, but then more siege related than RTA, I would say. Yeah, Xingzi would definitely be very much for turn 2. If we're looking at the other LDs that are changed, Beetle Guardians, I don't really see that change being an RTA change. Maybe we get back into a Jogun this Jongnam meta, not Jogun, Jongnam, the Dokubi Lord Water. If he is a good healer AoE, might be a bit of a thing. I don't expect to see more Smicers being back. I don't really expect to see that many Artemils getting more play, and then we're going to the net force already. So overall, I think it is a good balanced patch that addressed every part in the game. Because it's addressing Siege, it's addressing Arena, it's addressing RTA, it's addressing PvE. And that is definitely something that I like to see. I also am very happy that they finally started to adjust speed leads again. Because adjusting speed leads gives a lot more chance for other things. I would give this balance patch solid 8.5. I feel like they could have done more units. That is the main thing. Like in the S, the amount of unit changes is not that much. But I was expecting a 4 out of 10 balance patch by best. And I would say they did an 8 balance patch or to 8.5. They really went higher than my expectations. Layla nerf, I don't think Layla really needs a nerf in all honesty. She's kind of a 50-50 unit. But I would say balance patch, Loki, pretty good. Loki, pretty good. Like, to be honest, the units that they tuned down all kind of made sense. The units that they tuned up, most of them kind of made sense. Sure, some changes could have been, like, I would have made different changes in general, but that's always the case. Like, you can never really please everyone. But I would say that, yeah, good changes. And also, definitely, I'm curious to see what can we craft on this Liam being always using the S3. That part is really nice. No Liliana buffs. That's also a thing. I dodged all of the allegations. If I pull an LD5, it does not necessarily mean that my LD5 gets buffed right away. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. Liliana was not in there. Humble was in there, but Humble... The change of Humble, I did already speak about it. I feel like that's not a change what I would do on the Humble, because Humble just more damage. Sure, it's cool and all. It will definitely help. It will definitely be good. But you just have to remove this S2 and actually put something to the S2, which you help the S3 for, rather than having the most useless skill in his whole kit for any kind of shape or way that is. So I would say W balance patch. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it.